taxi rides, they can be really tough, really tough. I was, a few years ago, I was in Istanbul in a taxi, and the taxi driver asked me all kind of questions. Where are you from? Well, I told him where I'm from, and he asked, what is your opinion about religion? I said, I'm in favor of the freedom of religion. What do you mean? Well, like I said, what are you? Well, I'm a humanist. What is that? Is that Christian? No, that's not Christian. Is that Jews? No, it's not Jew. No. Is it Islam? No, it's not Islam. And we had a very long conversation about my views, and I was constantly attacked. Like, how can you be not religious? Because I said, I'm not religious, I don't believe in a God. How can that be? Everybody is born, he said, as a religious person. How can that be? And where are your morals coming from? That was he asking me, and I was constantly defending it and, tried to explain something. And at the end of the taxi ride, I stepped out the taxi and walking through the streets, and I was really dissatisfied with this conversation. Yes, to be called a non-believer, an atheist. That's something you're not. I am so much instead. I believe in a lot of things. I have morals, come on. I have a lot of inspirations. I have a lot of books at home. Like these two books, I brought them to here. These are two of my favorites. This is one book from Plato. Plato, 2,400 years ago, he wrote philosophy, and he wrote a lot about Socrates. And it was a magnificent philosopher. He just wandered around ancient Greece, Athens, and he was questioning everybody to their beliefs. He was asking all kind of nasty questions. And by the conversation, he thought truth would come up. By having debates about ideas, truth will come. That was the idea of Socrates. And from all those debates and dialogues, all kind of magnificent views were coming. And I really enjoyed that, reading that. And I have another book. This is from Spinoza. He was a Dutchman from Amsterdam, 17th century. And he was writing a lot about freedom, about ethics. Really magnificent. And he also said that every idea should be challenged. He also said that religious views should be challenged too. He said, no altar can be a refuge to commit treason to the majesty of reason. That's wonderful, huh? To the majesty of reason. So these kind of writers I really like. I really like a lot of writers about philosophy, about ethics, but it's kind of hard to tell this to a taxi driver. All the books that I find inspiring. So it's kind of hard to define myself as what I am as a humanist. And we see that on several places, of course. If you're going online, for example, and you want to go to a dating website, I'm a single guy, you wouldn't say, but I am. And it's also asked, what is your religion? And then you have a whole list with all kind of religion, Buddhist, Islam, all those kind of things. And at the end of the list, you see atheist or non-believer. And that's the only thing that I can tick then. That's a little bit poor, wouldn't you say? Yeah, I believe in a lot of things. And non-believers in the world are kind of a big group. Social scientists have found out that after Christianity and Islam, the non-affiliated are the biggest group in the world. It's like 1.3 billion people or something. It's a really big group. And they're called non-affiliated. Yeah, they're affiliated with several things, I guess, but non-affiliated. I'm a little bit insulted by that word too, yeah. And of course you can say, well, it's a little bit childish to be so insulted by that. Because it's just a word. It's just a word. You can just shrug your shoulders for it. But unfortunately, I think we cannot afford ourselves to be indifferent about that word. In many parts of the world, the word non-believer or atheist is a dangerous thing, if you're called that way. In 55 countries in the world, if you're a non-believer, if you're critical on religion or whatever, you can be prosecuted. In 13 countries in the world, you can get the death penalty for that. 13 countries. And that's not only for people who are not religious, but also people who are religious. If you are a little bit different Muslim than other Muslims, you can be prosecuted for that, also for Christianity. So it's not only for non-religious people, also for religious people is the word non-believer used to put them in a place. So that's something. Even in communist China, where atheism is the rule, the Communist Party, they are atheists, they consider people who are religious as non-believers of the communist system. So, well, there you go. And not only from states this problem is coming, but also from people self, society. I met, as a humanist, a lot of people from Bangladesh who are bloggers and blogging about certain aspects of religion extremists, and they are in real big danger. Some of them are killed on the street. I met some of their friends. It's really horrifying. Yes, and my favorite philosophers have had the same problems, like Spinoza was excommunicated from the Jewish community. And Socrates was also put in jail, and he was said that he was committing blasphemy to the gods of that moment. And he was sentenced to death by drinking a cup of poison. And in this 2,400-year-old book, it is written down how the last hours of Socrates were. It's magnificent literature. It's about the friends of Socrates who were gathering around him, talking about the meaning of life, about all kind of dilemmas, philosophy. And at the end of that day, he got Socrates the cup of poison. He drank it, and all his friends, all his students were crying. It's really a moving part. It's really one of the best things I read. I'm really moved and touched by this. So being a non-believer, what is the word non-believer? I think it's that you don't agree with the status quo, that you want to be a little bit different from the other. That's in general a non-believer. You can be seen as a non-believer in someone else's eyes. And I think to be a non-believer is in the nature of us, of human beings. I have a son of 4 years old. He is constantly saying no to everything the parents say. Question things. That's human nature. Question things. To be a little bit different than your parents, than your neighbors. That's human nature. So if you're a Muslim and you say, well, I'm still a Muslim and I want to not wear the headscarf, I just do want it, yes, you have your own free choice. If you're a Jew and you don't want to circumcise your son, that's your choice. You can do it a little bit different than the group. If you're working in the banking sector and you want to challenge the banking system because you think it's wrong, then you're considered by other people sometimes as a non-believer of the establishment. If you put it that way, maybe to be called a non-believer is a good thing. Look at this stage today. Everybody here was challenging an old idea by saying, I have a better idea. I have better art, I have a better philosophy, I have better things made up. They're all, in a way, they're non-believers, inconsistent to what was. Being non-believer. I'm myself, I'm a non-believer of for example, Spinoza too. Spinoza, I'm a fan of Spinoza, but he also wrote that he was against the right of women to vote, and that animals don't have any rights. So he's in favor of torturing animals. I don't agree with Spinoza. I don't follow him. I'm inconsistent in my belief in Spinoza. I'm also inconsistent as an atheist, because with Christmas I really like to go to church, because I really like the hymns there. So I'm a really inconsistent guy. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. And I think that if I would tell the story about Socrates and his death and his friends, the taxi driver in Istanbul would be moved by this story too. I'm sure of that. So, being inconsistent, being a non-believer, that's even better than the right to be religious. The right to be inconsistent, to be a non-believer in the eyes of someone else, gives everybody freedom. The liberal, the orthodox, the believer, the non-believer. It supports us all, that right. It makes our lives better to be inconsistent. It innovates. That's the right we all have to cherish. And I guess you all here also have certain aspects that you are considered by others as a non-believer. And that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. So embrace the right to be a non-believer. Thank you.